Where are we off to today then, Aileen?
So today we can have a little stroll around to Ballyholme and Ballyholme Point.
Okay, and we've just left what used to be known as the Banks car park. I don't know whether it still is known as the Banks car park. Maybe I'm giving my age away, but...
I think, well, I used to work in the building before these apartments were built. So it belonged to the trust, the health trust, and I worked for Action Mental Health for 20 years. So we had a centre there. So I remember before those flats were built, when we could come to the sea, but we never really did. We didn't appreciate it back then.
And that's interesting. Do you think it takes you to have a few years on you before you really start to appreciate, love, wonder about your surroundings, like the beaches and the woodlands?
I think what happens is, certainly when you're young, you have that freedom and you have that kind of connection with nature where you can, if you're left to your own devices, you're going to run around and get very mucky and get stuck in, jumping in puddles and things. And I think it just leaves you for a while as you have to do other things and find a career and look for a house and all these kind of things that get in the way, really. But then, eventually, I think it does come back. And certainly for me, it's really been in the last 10 years that I've found how beneficial it is to get out in nature.
Of course, having a dog helps.
Having a dog does help.
Who's this that's accompanying us? Lena. Hello, Lena.
She is a rescue from Greece, and I've had her I got her actually in 2020, so she actually got over just before lockdown. She's a Greek dog, and yet an island dog, and yet she's never swam. We're working on that.
So are you here often, this part of Ballyholme Beach, this part of Bangor?
This would be one of the usual sort of walks that I would do.
Oh.
Yeah. After the wee crab, so we're quite far away from any. So we're going to pick him up and stick him in a rock pool, I think. We'll take him with us, save the seagulls getting him. So look, the fence is up there. We'll pick him up from behind. Avoid those pincers. That's us. There we go.
There, that's our good deed. That's a good deed for the day.
Yeah, well spotted.
Do you know what kind of crab it is?
I think it's a green crab.
Just a green crab.
In fact, the pincers are kind of not really having any effect, but he's trying to use them as best he can.
So how do you know so much about sea life and nature on the beaches and things like that? Do you have qualifications? Did you study it?
No, and I if I'd done things again, I probably would have gone down that route. I lived in Reading, as far away from the sea as you can be, for 16 years after finishing university, and then moved back here in 2003. So it's through, I don't know, it's just through enjoying the walks and things, and then you find things, and I always kind of want to know if I find something a little bit more about it, or I kind of categorise things into three categories for the things that I would come across at the beach, general categories. So one would be the natural things that belong. Like
this little crab in your hands?
This little crab. Other things would be maybe the historical things, so the treasure that we can find, the beach combing finds, the old bottle stoppers, that type of thing, and then the litter, the plastic era. So what really drove me forward from just really enjoying the beach myself and doing little litter picks myself is when I found a dead seal in Ballyholme, and it had come in with the tide line and it had fishing line around it. So it obviously suffered for a good while. The skin had grown around the fishing line. So I think sometimes it's the visual impact of how we affect our surroundings in good and bad ways, but and sometimes the little things that we can do. So that's what made me move from enjoying it myself maybe to more involved in social media and a bit more marine education and that type of thing. Then we have a compass jellyfish. So you can see why it's called a compass for jellyfish.
Certainly can. Jellyfish now, funny enough, I'm used to seeing jellyfish, especially the big lion's mane, at the beginning of July.
Okay.
Around here.
Yes.
In the last few years.
Yep.
A few days ago they finally decided to appear.
Okay.
I don't know whether you noticed that.
Oh yes, yeah.
A bit late, and I'm wondering why, and I'm worrying about it.
I suppose I've been away for a couple of weeks, but I've certainly noticed the sort of blooms of jellyfish coming in, the likes of the compass I've seen. They would be one of the... We've got 5 native jellyfish species, and the compass is one that I maybe see the least. The lion's mane certainly the most, and then there's the blue jellyfish, which are all... So they'll come in, they're plankton, they're zooplankton, so they're going to drift with the tides. Why they're beaching a couple of weeks later, I don't know.
The lion's mane came in, but what I did notice was there were groups of seagulls all gathered round in the water, and they were eating them.
Okay. Pecking at them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might think that's horrible, but I suppose they're a source of food for them, so you tend not to think about that, that jellyfish are actually a food for somebody.
This is it. It's a food chain, isn't it? And it's realising the importance of all the little things, the small things and the big things. I mean, I've come back from the Faroes where we've been doing a campaign with Sea Shepherd there, looking at the whaling industry, but it's, as well as these sort of 6-metre dolphins, which pilot whales are, it's the little critters as well, and how everything plays such a role. That's food for, as you said, something else.
Something I'll eat it.
Yeah. The crab probably would have a go.
I saw your documenting of that trip on social media, and it's something I think that we here in Ireland just can't get our head around, that massive slaughter of sea creatures still happens relatively close to us.
Yes.
And kind of without reason, really.
They do eat them, although they've been advised against eating them by their medical advisor, the Faroese medical advisor, because these animals are apex predators and are full of organic pollutants, so they're like mercury, heavy metals as well. There's a process where obviously our seas have got pollutants in them, we know this, and as the animals at the top of the food chain eat the animals lower down, the toxins accumulate in their and store in their blubber, so they're consuming them and they're not able to be released because they're stored in their fat. So the top predators, the orcas, the pilot whales, they have got a really high concentration of mercury particularly. And in the Faroe Islands, they have been doing various tests on the population since 1986, measuring the mercury levels in the population. And, it's of such concern. I think in 2008 it was that the medical advisor said for women and children to avoid eating pilot whales, and if anyone was going to still continue, just to make it one meal a month. So eating meat isn't the reason that they do it generally. It's tradition. It's something that they've done for centuries, since it's been documented since the 16th century, and it would have been for food. We've documented all the food waste on the island, though. There's no need for this to continue. The methods have changed. They're taking out... The methods have changed. It's very sophisticated now. A lot of boats go out and drive the whales in. And they're taking out whole pods of whales, the genetic kind of lines of these mammals. So it's something that we go there and we look at, we engage with locals, trying to find out their reasons for doing it. They like us to document them butchering the whales and showing that they're taking all the meat, but this meat isn't even something that they should be consuming. They are a stubborn nation, and you have to give them that, because they have kept their independence from Denmark. They're self-governing, they have their own police, they have their own language, they have their own currency. They're not part of the EU because they don't want to be, in terms of the way that they do their trade and and the whaling as well. So you have to respect them for that, and the whaling will come to an end. There is a fair bit of pressure on them. Young people don't particularly seem to be taking part because they're not for ethical reasons, but because they're involved in maybe sports and other things. So it will finish, but not really soon enough as far as most people are concerned.
You said you saw the seal wrapped in the fishing net that had died further on down the coast, and that was a big shocking thing. The slaughter of the whales in the Faroes. Do we have anything we should be really worried about on all the ordinary beaches around Ireland?
The things that we should be worried about, the things that are simple things that we can do things about, is the littering, the releasing of balloons and that type of thing, the practices that we maybe would have done before and really not thought about the consequences. And there are still, and there have been high-profile cases in recent years to commemorate somebody, very, very sad, tragic cases where there have been a lot of balloons released, And I would just say that that's really littering upwards.
Yeah.
You're putting plastic in. And so I have seen and people who are out on their boats, they'll be picking up balloons and ribbons and all sorts. So that type of thing. Loops and hoops are something that I find I would definitely advise people to be lifting.
Where do they come from?
The bottle tops, when they're discarded, those things you'll find birds, and there's plenty of pictures out there where you'll see birds with them in their mouth and around their neck, so that they can cause strangling hazards. Any type of hoop and loop, there are many in the fishing industry. We used to have the 6-pack of beers. We are on the path, but we are in a situation where we need to do things. The impact is now coming back at us from the sea. We can see things, and what we have to remember is if we're not actually under the water, all we're seeing is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So we're seeing what comes back to us rather than maybe what is all out there.
That's a really good analogy, actually. There is a whole iceberg full of plastics probably buried under it. In Ballyholme Bay, maybe. I don't know. When you consider how many decades people have come down here to enjoy this beach and the sand, and how much rubbish people deliberately or possibly and mainly accidentally left behind. And now, if you turn over any of these rocks and stones, I'm betting you'd find something from years and years ago.
Yeah. And it's trying to pick up a few things as you go. Take 3 for the sea is a good way to remember things like that, but also not littering yourself. And remembering that even if it's litter in the park or wherever the litter may be, eventually that's all going to go to... you're finding all the crabs!
Oh my goodness. It's not even as big as my fingernail.
Yeah. Well, if we have a look in a rock pool, you might find beadlet anemones and things
Oh,
like that
yes.
as well.
Bloodsuckers. Although they do have some kind of poison, don't they? They can sting
They've got
you.
stinging tentacles, but they wouldn't affect us.
No, and they certainly wouldn't suck your blood.
No, but I have brought down some treasure with me that I
Oh,
can show
right,
you of
okay.
different- I might just even set my things down.
Yeah, we'll release our little kraken.
Oh, watch him go away. There we are. There you go.
Right, so what
So
treasures
I
do you have to
have-
show me?
We have some bottle stoppers. And these are all things that I found locally as well, so they're quite difficult to find when you... So these are vulcanite stoppers. I'm going to give you that one. You
Oh,
can take that one.
Thank you.
That's my most recent one. So it's McClenaghan's Belfast.
Now, I look at this and I'm of an age where that reminds me of Lucozade bottles.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Or the mineral water, or...
Yeah, particularly the Lucozade that you used to only be able to buy in chemists, believe it or not.
Okay.
And it was in a big glass bottle. Do you not remember it? No, you're too young. A big glass bottle, and it had a kind of bright orange, really bad for the environment, cellophane wrapper
Yes.
around
I
it.
do remember those,
But
yes.
they had these black stoppers in the top. It wasn't like a screw top or anything.
Yes.
And it was very expensive, and you only got it when you knew you were really quite sick, whenever your
Yes.
mum brought some home from the chemist for you. But there we go, yeah. And it's almost like it.
So it's it's rubber, and
Yeah.
it's been heated through a process called vulcanization. So the man who patented that process was Charles Goodyear, who's famous for the tyres.
The tyres, yeah.
And this one here is the same, but it's got a hollow in it. So would you have any idea why that was?
So it's a bottle top. You can see the bottom of it, but it has a hollow in it. I'm guessing, has a creature made its home in it, or what?
No, that's a man-made hollow. That's a deliberate hollow. So what it's doing is it's using less material.
Than this one.
Yes. So this is a war grade bottle stopper.
Wow.
When they used, just by putting a hole in, they used less rubber. So rubber was used elsewhere in the war effort.
And where did you find these?
These are local finds. Just
yeah,
on the beach. Quite difficult to see because they can, the colours of them.
Yeah, when you consider, have you looked up this chemist?
McClenaghan's, yes. I can't think of the McClenaghan's. The Cromark Springs is an area where in Belfast where they would have had the artisan springs, and a lot of the bottling industry sort of grew around that area there. So we have a company, Divis, C&C, Grattan's, so all these companies, and you can still find the bottle stoppers, and sometimes we get them from Scotland as well. I'll find Scottish ones coming across the water.
But I mean, this must be 60 odd year at least. 60,
I would think it could be up to 100 years old. Wow. We're talking.
And the wartime one, Second World War or First World?
It'd be Second World War.
Second World War.
Yeah.
While they are in the sea on the rocks, being washed by the waves and the tides, are they releasing tiny little bits of?
So
stuff?
they will be degrading gradually, but these are. This is the inert kind of rubbish, so this isn't going to release any harmful chemicals or anything like that. It's a natural product. It's rubber that's been heated. So that is our rubbish of old. Would have been glass, ceramics, the bottle stoppers that are rubbish. So stuff that wasn't harmful as it degrades,
Isn't that funny?
And then we've moved on from the 1950s to the plastics.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that word.
I know it comes with beach talk, but and how they and very much how they degrade into the chemicals that are released.
What else have you got there?
So looking at the older things here, what I do is I sometimes take these around. I do talks in residential homes, so I'll take these around. That's a bit of a marmalade bottle.
Oh yes, LADE. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's Dundee, and there's a reason why marmalade was made in Dundee, because if you think about it, we didn't have the oranges, and that's because a consignment of Seville oranges was on its passage around the UK and up in Scotland, and there was a storm, and the ship took refuge in Dundee Harbour, and the cargo was going to spoil, so a grocer bought the consignment of Seville oranges at a reduced rate. His mother added sugar and started to make marmalade, and that is why we have marmalade from Dundee.
Do you know, I had toast this morning, and on it I put some Dundee orange marmalade. There we go. So yeah, I didn't know that story about the oranges, though. That's brilliant.
And then toothpaste, again, that would have been, we'd have had powder toothpaste.
Vinolia toothpaste.
Just an old...
In a box?
Just a little ceramic jar. Little bits of treasure that you can still find on the beach, but becoming less and less, as people, maybe treasure hunters, beachcombers, they're picking these types of things up, but we can't really see too much rubbish here now as we're standing here, but then there's been a litter picking group just literally out this morning, so
they've probably done a very good job of catching it all.
And that is one of the real treasures. Have you seen anything like that before?
It's a tiny little white figure.
Yeah.
It looks like a baby,
Yes.
Looks like a tiny plastic jelly baby.
It does. It's perhaps a little bit bigger than a jelly baby, and they come in different sizes, and it's bisque. So bisque pottery, and this would have been made as a floating bath toy in Germany, and they're called frozen charlottes. So
sounds a bit scary.
They are, yeah. And you get them, and sometimes they look a bit more ornate and a bit more fancy. But they eventually made their way over to America, and then they were put inside cakes and puddings and things. So a frozen charlotte doll.
Oh yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's not plastic at all.
No.
Obviously, because you said it's made from bisque, which is a form of ceramics, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah.
Would it have been decorated, do you think?
No, it was very plain. There were cheap bath toys that floated
And that's why
during World War II. Just
That's
a
why they were
cheap
called
thing.
frozen.
Yes, frozen.
They
And
look,
they look like they're, arms and legs by the side.
Yeah.
And then gradually you would have had female and male figures, and then sometimes you'd have them with like bonnets on and different clothes on. But yes, this was a basic frozen Charlotte doll. Now I've only ever found one, and that wasn't the one that I found. Because I went to a residential home in Groomsport and there was a woman who coveted it.
Oh.
And I left it with her.
Oh.
And I did actually go back and do another talk in that residential home, and I was asking her after it, but she definitely wasn't for parting with it. So my friend gave me that one because I'd given her.
But you think, I have never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
You said they started in Germany.
Yes.
You said they were really popular in America.
Mm-hmm.
So these could have come from anywhere.
They could have, yes, yeah, absolutely. The
Poor
tides
little
move
frozen
around
thing.
and
But saved now.
yes, save now. Yes, so I take her out on the beach talks and things that I do as well. And I talk to people about leisure time as well, and how marbles would have been the toys they would have been lobbed at paper boats in the sea. So
Oh.
the children would have been trying to sink the paper boats.
With
So we
marbles.
do find marbles locally as well, nice and frosted, which isn't banging against. It's the chemical reaction over years of glass and seawater. It's not from dinting or banging against.
Of course, the very place that everybody enjoys over there is the basic element of glass. It's all that
Yes.
sand. So that at least eventually would return to its native state.
Yes, that's it. It breaks down, and yeah, absolutely. And then
Smarty tops.
Smarty tops. And the reason that I've brought Smarty tops along, because we do see a lot of plastic, but this plastic for Smarty tops is quite easy to date when you know how.
So you've got 4 tops, 3 blue, 1 green, and some of them look much worse for wear for being
Yes.
around, and they've got slight different fonts on them as well.
Yes. So some say Roundtree and some say Smarties. So we know that the Roundtree ones are older because Smarties was taken over from Roundtree by Nestle. And we know that these are all at least 20 years old because Smartie lids, the plastic Smartie lids stopped being produced in 2005 and they became paper lids. And then you have on the reverse, you have some that have lowercase or capitals, some that have numbers. This is the oldest one that I have, which is blank on the reverse. So this one has also like a square lid on it, a square cap on the lid, and this is 1950s. So you're able to go onto a website and date them, and we know that if it's blank on the reverse and it says Roundtree, this was produced in the 1950s.
And horrifyingly, it looks as good as the day it came out of the factory.
Absolutely.
The other ones look like
One
they've
there
been
looks
nibbled.
a little bit older, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they certainly look older, but that is incredible.
Yes. It's good to find these because you're able to date
Yes.
them, and then you think, well, if this looks this good and
Yeah.
this is 80 years old or 70 years old, then what about the rest of the stuff?
Exactly. What other kind of things would you expect to see lots of? Plastic bags caught up in the seaweed and things like that? Or do they fill with water and sink to the bottom?
No, they'll be plastic bags or remnants of the plastic bags or plastic sheeting. Some would often float and come ashore. We can walk a bit further around here.
Yeah.
Around, yeah. There's a nice little bay around here, which I know they wouldn't have got as far as.
Okay.
So when I talk about the plastic, I try and talk about it in conjunction with its impact maybe on marine life, and certainly plastic bags is a good example of that, because sea turtles, we have 7 species of sea turtle. Now they're not local, but I think when we're talking about the sea, there aren't any borders. So the turtles don't have to have good eyesight. They mistake this sort of floating plastic or balloons or whatever as it shreds and degrades, they mistake it for
Jellyfish.
jellyfish. And jellyfish would be one of the main foods. But this is an example when we're talking about plastic. So if you think about how
I thought that was a tissue.
No, and I will wash my hands thoroughly, but if we can see how it breaks down, and you can see it has almost tentacles and
Yes,
shreds. That
like-
looks like in the water, that will very much look like a jellyfish.
Yeah.
Oh dear, is that a dead bird up there? There's something unusual there, isn't there?
Yeah, let's go and have a look.
It is bird, isn't it? Let's see.
It looks like it.
Seagull. Right. So I have gloves, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bag it, lift it to be collected, because the avian flu is around, but also I just want to check that there's nothing kind of untoward, obvious happened here.
Looks like a herring gull to me from here.
Yes. I do volunteer with the Irish Willow Dolphin Group and also British Divers Marine Life Rescue, so I do lift seals and dolphins and work with animals, so don't worry, you know.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, you're right, it's a herring gull. Yeah, the eyes are gone. There's no real obvious sign there, you know, no kind of entanglement or anything. Back it up.
It looks recent.
Yeah. You can see why I carry a bag with me most of the
Yeah. It's vital. But I bet you didn't do that whenever you first went out. It's just because you do all this volunteering and things like that. It's great work that you do. So tell me a wee bit more about those organisations again.
So I was trained up as a marine mammal medic last year, which was with British Divers Marine Life Rescue and Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. So that means that if there's a call about a seal pup or a seal that looks like it's been abandoned, a member of the public maybe phones Exploris or phones maybe directly to the British Divers Marine Life Rescue, and we'll go and check on it and do some assessments. If it looks like it has been abandoned, which can often happen like with dog walkers and things getting too close, the mother's not going to come back out. So we'll assess, and then we'll liaise with the head office and make a decision then of whether to be able to take it down to Exploris. They have 8 seal pens there as part of their seal sanctuary.
Does it take a lot of studying to become, what did you say again, a marine
mammal medic, or a live stranding volunteer on the other hand? You learn as you go along as well. You do get trained, so you have the training, but you always work with other people in terms of being on the contact, phone contact with the experts as well. You'll have vets that will maybe come out and help you assess, or certainly recently we've had a harbour porpoise that had to be euthanised in Mill Isle. So you're never on your own, you're never making decisions on your own, and you learn from experience as well.
The other thing I would imagine is that where there's certainly a stranded otter pup, there's usually a crowd of people all very concerned, so you can pass on, you know, your knowledge that it may not have been abandoned, but it will be if you don't move away. Put your dog on a lead and all, and so you're educating the public maybe as well, are you?
Sometimes it can be a matter of it's just really a case of crowd control, you know, to give the animals space, and that was one that I did last year with another colleague. We were just literally, the seal pup had hauled out at high tide, had a snooze, tide gone out, and it was a case of waiting for the tide to come back in for the seal pup to make him move back into the water. So just making sure that it wasn't going to be disturbed and making people aware that it was just literally hauled out to rest. You know, it wasn't in any danger. It looked old enough to be able to fend for itself.
And if people find seal pups, any other kind of marine life and they're concerned about it, who should be their first point of call? Who should they phone first or contact first?
British Divers Marine Life Rescue.
Okay.
They have social media pages and a contact number. There's also kind of useful information on their social media about what to do. If you're the first on the scene and looking at, for example, with a dolphin or a porpoise that has life stranded, it's not getting it back into the sea, which I think people are panicked and are obviously trying to do the right thing, but these are air-breathing mammals, they're not fish. So the important thing is to keep the skin of the animal moist, and that can be with seaweed, just putting seaweed over the top of it. And then if you're on the phone to somebody, they will sort of talk you through the process of what needs to happen. But before the animal goes back into the sea, it needs to be assessed because there's a reason it's stranded. And you don't want to cause the animal so much stress that it's never going to be able to be refloated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
So you certainly keep yourself busy.
I do, yeah.
I mean, it sounds to me like your job is kind of like your hobby,
yeah.
because you're so busy out on the shores and doing the work, visiting different places to tell people about what you find on the shore and how they can help. We've just found a big red flammable liquid sign.
Big warning sign. I wonder what that was from.
With the number 3.
And this is what I would usually do, is take a photograph, sometimes with my feet in it.
Yes, your feet are very famous. Feet to scale.
That'll be something that I'll take and maybe use in something. I'll not go in the bag with the bird.
Do you ever do anything creative with the things that you find?
I had an exhibition in Ards Visitor Centre this year. I had my art there for a month, so I do. I think people like to see things visually to learn.
It featured a lot of abandoned or discarded netting and things like that,
Yes.
didn't it?
I made an octopus with abandoned netting, and I used the bottle tops as the suckers, and I used some driftwood and another piece to make a seal, and then put different hoops around the neck of the seal. Also a little bit of driftwood that looked like a bird, and then the smaller hoops maybe from the milk bottle tops and things around that.
And are you always doing things like that?
When I have time, I do like to be creative and do these types of things, because I can leave them somewhere and I don't need to be there, and the message may get across. The Peppery Cat in Bangor has got a window display at the moment with some of the art that I've made. Yeah. We put that in the rubbish bag.
Yes, not the bag with the dead seagull. Yeah. That would be very confusing.
I do look like a bag lady when I come feet. I don't know what people think, but keep my head down and carry on.
So you're clearly enjoying this, and sometimes it must be very depressing and maybe a bit soul-destroying, but there must be a good feeling attached to it. Number 1, you're out in nature, and number 2, you're helping nature. Would you recommend it?
I think I would absolutely recommend it. As I said, I work for a mental health charity, and now I work for the NHS, and there's these 5 ways to well-being. Let's see if I can remember them, but they all would be this kind of, they're all part of doing this and taking a walk and picking up little bits of rubbish. So there's connecting, giving, which can be giving your time, being active, so that can be having a walk out in nature, mindfulness, just taking the time and noticing what's around you, and the 5th one is learning. And I think doing this, you're going to notice things, and you're going to understand how maybe things work together, or find out something new. You learn something new every day, so we can be very disconnected from nature in the way that we're living now. There's something called nature deficit disorder, which isn't a diagnosed condition, but it's certainly a phrase that's being bandied around in the medical professions. And it's so important for young people who've grown up in an age of technology to have this time and to come out and to be out in nature, because unless you're doing that, you're not going to know or want maybe to look after the environment, because you need to be able to connect with something, I think, to look after it. And I think that's really important and really key. And we know how important being out in nature is, because if we think about lockdown, when we only had half an hour exercise, how, if you were able to get out, and I know we weren't always, not all of us were able to get out, but how important that half an hour was, you know, to our mental health. It's like a reset. So yeah, I would absolutely encourage people to come out and do this. And I think people who do, like the beach cleaners and beach combers and whatever, they do it because it's good for them as well. You know, there's something in it for them, and there's always hope. And if you lift 3 bits of litter, that's 3 bits of litter that aren't going to, you know, harm wildlife or go back out to sea. So that's how I think of it. I think of it as really just the little and, you know, often, or little and as much as you can do makes a difference. We don't need to think of things on a huge scale. We can just really bring it down to taking a little walk out, and if we see a bit of rubbish, lift it up, or have a seat and just watch the world go by around us. And as we're doing now, we can listen to the birds, or you know, see all the different flowers at the different times of year. So I think it's really important.
Aileen McClenaghan is a force of nature, and nature's lucky to have her on its side. My thanks to her for her time, tales and treasure. Follow her on Instagram at @WhatTheSeaSaw. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, share and subscribe. I'm Anne-Marie Foster. Maybe you have a little banger story to tell. Until the next time.